Hello everyone, my name is Loco and welcome to a best of 3 series of top level StarCraft 2. What I've got for you today is a Protoss versus Terran that is supposed to be an absolute banger. Now spawning right here in the bottom left hand corner, playing with the red Protoss species. We have the highest ranked player from the United States of America. We're looking inside of the main base of Astrea. I feel like I don't get to cast that many Astrea games. It's always fun to get a look at what he has been up to. His opponent, though, somebody I get to cover, well, honestly, if I wanted to, literally every single day. He's the world champion of StarCraft 2. He's an absolute legend. Well, at the very least, as of me casting this, he's the world champion of StarCraft 2. Although I think by the time that this video makes it up to the YouTube channel, I mean, maybe he goes back to back. It's hard to say. Anyways, I'm not exactly sure what my schedule is going to be like. I've been prepping some videos in advance, though, for the EWC. Either way, playing right here with the blue Terran pieces, we have, of course, none other than Clem. Now, Clem, unlike many world champions that we've had in StarCraft 2 over the years, plays in literally all of the things. He plays in all of the stuff. You do like a $500 tournament, and it's pretty much a guarantee, at least assuming he, can actually make it, but it's pretty much a guarantee that Clem will sign up for your tournament. At least if it's, public knowledge and easy for him to sign up and all that. Clem really does play in a lot. And as far as I understand, in between the World Championships that he won and right now, he's taken like a couple days off. That's it. Like, he's played pretty much all of the time. I wonder if at some point you sort of burn out. Because he plays really, like, there's a few players out there that like grind in, well, they grind day after day. And they just play game after game all the freaking time. Clem is certainly one of them. You'd imagine at some point you must kind of burn out, but, well, he's still winning. And honestly, all of those weekly cups, they do sort of add up over time. Let me actually have a look. Liquipedia, Clem. So last year at the World Championships, Clem earned $450,000 in a single event. And right now his total earnings are roughly at about 900. So depending on how well he does during this year's EWC, and I think it's entirely fair for Clem to be bare minimum a top 4 player, we may just welcome another StarCraft 2 millionaire at this rate before the end of the year, which is pretty sick. There's only been a handful of them over the years. Actually, I think it's only Serral, Maru, and Rogue. I don't know if anybody else has surpassed it since then, but I think those are the 3. So there is a website called SC2, or actually, there's an even better one called Esports Earnings that keeps track of all of the earnings for each of the games. Now, interestingly enough, StarCraft 2 is still pretty high on the list. It's actually still in the top 10, which is pretty sick. Oh, Dark! Dark obviously also has made it to that point. Dark actually also made it to 1.2 million, a little bit after some of those other players, but of course, still an absolute monster, but currently off to do his mandatory military service. Now, already, as I have been yapping onwards about completely, well, at least game unrelated stuff, we've got ourselves a good old Stargate opener from Astrea. I feel like we don't see it that often anymore. Stargate openers in general have lost a little bit of popularity, at least with a lot of the European and a lot of the South Korean Protoss players. They've been going, well, Twilight Council pretty much every single time. I have always been a fan of these Phoenix-based openers because they allow the game to go a little bit longer. So this is an excellent, I don't want to die to anything stupid opener, assuming you play correctly. Now, that is the big assumption you have to make, because Clem is somebody that can tear you apart, and it's a very delicate early game. You have to be on point with your lifts. You don't want to be like overlifting with those Phoenixes either, because they have a limited amount of energy. Obviously, you can use the energy recharge on them and maybe get an additional graviton lift on them, but it's quite flimsy. We do have, at the very least, an attempted third Nexus. Looks like Clem is going to be able to shut this down for the time being. Still, though, the Phoenixes are out, and with a Robo facility right now on the back of it, we'll probably see a Colossus eventually, too. Once the Colossi are out, if you micro everything well, you can force the game to go a little bit longer. Okay, here we go, though. This has to be managed well. One Phoenix does get sniped down, it seems, but plenty of units still left over. Yeah, Clem is going to be forced to retreat. Third Nexus has been delayed successfully, but it certainly does not justify losing all of those biological units here. There is still a Banshee. Okay, sneak it around the side as well. A little bit risky, of course. Astrea doesn't know about the fact that there is a Banshee going across, otherwise he would easily go ahead and kill it. This Hellion mostly just as a distraction to, well, ultimately help this little plane go across. Problem is, though, one Banshee rarely does anything anyway. If you can get a handful of kills, that would be big. It depends on whether or not there is a shield battery anywhere. And at this point, well, looking at it, there's literally, well, there's one over here, but the probes are not going to be able to use that. Cloaking field is done. We do need detection in this region, too. Observer starts up right now. Clem might just get a little bit lucky. Yeah. No shield batteries, no detection, and of course the Banshee managed to go across the map all the way unscouted. Man, this is unfortunate for Astrea. So much damage dealt by a unit that is technically countered. 12 probe kills for a single Banshee. I mean, there's a second one right now too. That one was apparently working away at a shield battery. But I think that's about the most damage that Clem could have ever hoped for out of a single one of those units. All right. Well, the Colossus is coming. We've got ourselves Stimpack, combat shields, +1 infantry attacks as well. So Clem getting all of the important upgrades that he needs. Nice little splitty over here, trying to mitigate some of the damage that could potentially be coming in. Lifts up a single SCV in retaliation, and, well, a couple of the Marines too. Obviously, there's no point in having your Phoenixes sit at maximum energy. They won't really contribute a whole lot more. Yeah, and I've seen this build quite a bit from Protoss players, and then even though, technically speaking, it is perfectly safe for Protoss, I've still seen Clem absolutely tear it apart. You end up with, like, one of those army compositions here as Protoss, where at least initially, it's like Phoenixes and Colossi, and then just a couple of units. Okay. Medevacs are forced to unload. But it's flimsy, right? Like, you have these very big, beefy targets as Protoss, but very little to, like, shield in front of those big, beefy targets. Nice control on the Phoenixes, though. Yeah, Astrea shielding his main base. Absolutely not a chance that Clem is going to lift up and go in there right now, but Clem is already showing that he is not afraid to go ahead and mix it up if he needs to. Third command center, though, is just about to finish up. Likewise, though, Stimpack, combat shields, and +1 are already done. And it does mean a very significant power spike for the vast majority of Terran units out right now. We see charge coming up, but that's certainly not going to be done in time. There are 2 Colossi. Third one starts up a little bit late on that one. The ranged research for the Colossi also not yet finished. And this is still one of those attacks that needs to be respected. Then again, though, this is only a part of the Protoss, or of the Terran's army, rather. So he's trying to now bring those units together. Phoenix is still hanging out over here. Colossus, okay, is going to be enough. Nice multitasking here from Astrea. We see Protoss players butcher this exact engagement right over here, time and time again. Especially against somebody like Clem, who's desperately trying to pull them apart in lots of different little sections, but maybe he can still get something done. The third Colossus now is available, though, and so is the ranged upgrade for those Colossi. Bit of hold position there on the Colossus. Yeah, all that Astrea is looking for right now is to just not lose. That's the only goal. Don't lose any important units. He doesn't want to fight. Clem is the one looking for an engagement, and he should not be baited away from the safety of the static defense. Looks like one of the Widow Mines did end up getting a little bit fancy. But ultimately, not bad whatsoever, and well managed here by the American Protoss. Clem still, though, hunting this area, but he needs to be careful now. With all of those additional upgrades kicking in for Protoss, you can very easily overextend. And this is not the type of Terran army that you can just give away and then immediately remake. All right, fourth Nexus now, on the back of this as well. Storm coming up here, too, for the Protoss. Double upgrades. We have got Blink. And that's exactly why Clem is putting in a little bit of urgency, right? Because he knows that he needs to do something. He's got the army advantage. He's got like twice as much supply, it feels like, as far as the army goes. But he just can't really find an engagement yet. I love the Vikings, though. The Vikings need to be respected. If the Colossi are taken out of the equation, I mean, obviously, this type of Protoss army will just absolutely melt. Looks like the fourth Nexus will be forced to get cancelled. Okay. Storm, though. Again, an important upgrade, but also an expensive upgrade. Takes forever to research. Better than ever now, though, with, of course, that shield battery, well, overcharge removal and the energy recharge. There it was being used. It's boosting those High Templar to get energy for storms all of the time, and I mean, it's ticking along. That's, of course, a phenomenal upgrade against those clumped up Vikings, but also against the Marines. And so far, I gotta say, Clem is really trying, but he's not getting a single fight that is really benefiting him. Zealot run by, mostly just here as a distraction to buy time for this Protoss army. Still, though, the Terran is about 20 supply ahead, 25-ish supply even, ahead of that army of the Protoss. The Zealots, though, are gonna cause a lot of havoc, and immediately, look at that, Clem is stimming his entire army back home just to clean all of this up. Fourth Nexus, in the meantime, has been restarted. So the idea, of course, behind that is to just continue building up that economical advantage. And right now, Clem might have the bigger army, but he does have a significantly smaller economy. And that is all that Astrea is really leaning on. Get the higher technology, get the better upgrades, get the bigger economy, so you can make a better army eventually. Honestly, it's becoming important that Clem does something. It was already important, but he needs to do something. He can't really just let the Protoss players sit on this much economy. 83 workers, by the way. Not bad whatsoever. Clem, well, marching around the map, but Astrea has already got a lot of spotters out. He sees this type of army coming in. Great feedbacks as well on the Medivacs. Astrea basically shouting for him to get off his lawn. And look at the vision right now on the minimap. There's observers sieged up, there's a pylon, there's probes, there's units all over. And Clem can't really possibly be scouting all of it. As long as Protoss knows where that Terran army is located, they can also avoid it, or at the very least, park their army here in the right position to deal with it. Lovely movement here by Astrea. I'm honestly very impressed. Still easy, though, for this type of game to fall apart. Clem has decided, by the way, to now, well, begin building up his own economy as well. From a bit of a deficit. Building 4 command centers. So Clem has decided that this game needs to be flipped upside down. He wanted to play a more aggressive 2-base style, then a more aggressive 3-base style, and then a more aggressive 4-base style. But Astrea has deflected all of it. So apparently we're gonna go into the mass command center style instead. We'll have 5 command centers building on the production tab. That is 2,000 minerals worth. It's a lot of money that is gonna be caught up right now in infrastructure, and obviously we have yet to really see Astrea commit to a big attack of his own. Honestly, he might just be about ready for it. Yeah, he takes some really good engagements again on the right, and then some really solid engagements again as well on the left. Looks like we don't have an EMP available, so those storms are still very dangerous. Right over here, though, okay, the Colossi are a little too far forward. The Vikings are in the right position. Good micro here by Clem, and finally he takes a reasonable fight. That storm, by the way, still kills a couple of Vikings on their way out as well. Lovely stuff. Okay. So, the logical next step for Terran would be to transition towards Liberators now. He's already been upgrading those Vikings. Well, you know what? If you lose them, you may as well make a couple more. +1 air also coming up, though, for Astrea. So we've seen a lot of Protoss players, especially the Europeans, especially the Koreans again, deal with Liberators by just going into... Wow. Really? Dang. By going into just Mass Stalker. Maybe that will be what he does as well here eventually, but the +1 air weapons is really nice. That one Ghost, though. Look at this one hero Ghost. 4 confirmed kills, and at least a few of them have been, there we go, have been High Templar. Ultimately, the Ghost does fall, but not a bad trait right there for a single unit. Still 12 High Templar. Man, 12 High Templar is a lot. They're parked all around the map. As long as you're on top of it, you can put in a ton of work. Okay. Yeah. No, not gonna happen. He does get the revelation right there on that single observer with the EMP. Something we actually don't really see all too often, but EMP is a way to uncloak cloaked units. There we go. Fleet Beacon together with a Stargate. So we are building up to a long game right now. Liberator production indeed has begun. Nice fight over here for Astrea, who really is just trying to open up a bit of supply. He does have 12 gateways. Big storms all around, man. Man, those High Templar are having a grand old time. This guy just stormed himself to death. maybe a little overly ambitious. Yeah, you do have to be careful, right? Even though Clem hasn't really gotten the start in this game that he was hoping for, he's still extremely good at these micro wars, and cost effectiveness is obviously, well, one of the very best things that Clem can do with his type of army. So already we can see it reflected here. Protoss just losing more important units than Terran has lost so far. And that is the type of stuff that... so many storms. That is the type of stuff that Clem is very, very good at. Fusion Core right now is done. We can go into the Liberator ranged upgrade. We can go into the Medevac energy boost. All of it is awesome. +3/+3 as well for the infantry units right now. We're gonna go into the second Cyber Core though here for Astrea. And the only reason you would want to get a second Cyber Core is to start double upgrading air units. Another big storm, man. APM-wise, Astrea is playing a pretty fast game. I haven't really seen any of the High Templar get caught off guard on the minimap. Every time Clem is hoping for a lucky free kill, he does get stormed first. Additional Stargates again. So I think Astrea probably wants to do like a full transition to Tempest and maybe even a Mothership. Now obviously at this point he's maxed, so he can't really do that. Blue mineral fields here do get destroyed. Colossus trying its very best. Okay. Already, by the way, +3 air for Clem. This is honestly a very passive game now. Like, even though there's activity all over the map and both players are trying to get damage done, really both of them are just preparing for like the ultimate late game. These skirmishes are nice and all, but I highly doubt that they're going to be deciding the game. Although that being said, Astrea is maybe thinking about cannon rushing this section of the map? Why else would you be making a pylon over here? Yes! Let's freaking go, dude. I love that. I mean, cannon rushing with a little asterisk right next to the word rushing. Oh, I love the High Templar. The High Templar have been putting in so much freaking work. Still though, the Terran army should be okay against these leftover Protoss units. Tempest production right now has indeed started. We're gonna go for the Medevac boost. Zealots also inside of the main base now. The majority of the Protoss army is moving around over here. Aggressive blink forward, snipes a couple of the units. Photon cannon set up over here, but Liberators preventing them from moving too far forward. Looks like the Prism in the main base together with the Zealots, they have been cleaned up. More command centers coming up. 4 more, actually. But now the Tempests are here. And this base is extremely easy now for Astrea to deny. I don't believe it's gonna be possible for Clem to hold onto it. If Clem decides to overstay his welcome, he's just gonna be bleeding out units. Having some static defense over here is phenomenal. What a game so far. A lovely way to start off a series. How many orbitals do we have, though? 10? 10 orbitals with 3 more coming up? Tactical nukes? Okay, sure. That is gonna be 13 orbital commands. Generally, we see that many in like a long, drawn-out game of Terran versus Zerg. Rarely do you get that many against Protoss. It effectively means, though, that you can scan basically indefinitely, you know? Like, you can effectively scan wherever you like. Alternatively, you can give up on a lot of your SCVs, replace them with army supply instead, and then drop down mules. Mules don't cost any supply. Since they have a timed life, it doesn't matter. But it does allow you more, well, out of your 200 supply pie, right? You can actually dedicate a bigger portion of it to army. Okay. More High Templar. More mechanical upgrades as well. This is the one game, though, that will come down to cost effectiveness at this rate, right? And another little snipey. I feel like Clem is so freaking good. Like, late game Terran versus Zerg is incredible. Like, his TVZ is phenomenal. And this is the type of game that this is remarkably similar to late game TVZ. Even though there's no Zerg in this type of match, I've got a feeling that Clem has way more experience playing this sort of long, drawn-out game than Astrea does, but I'd like to be proven wrong. So far, Astrea is holding himself very, very nicely. A little hit squad of Terran units ready to take care of some of that static defense. There is a High Templar nearby as well, and indeed it is going to be using its Psy Storms here. So far, this game is all but decided. New Nexi coming up. A new starport is building. Looks like we have a nice little hit squad of units here. Man, I'm actually very pleasantly surprised here by Astrea. Like, obviously, I know he's very good, but I didn't realize he would be comfortable going toe-to-toe against Clem in a macro game, and he's managing it really well. You love to see it. Sometimes when you don't see players sign up for as many events, or at the very least, I haven't seen him play in as many tournaments. Maybe I've just missed him. That's also very possible. You'd imagine that usually that's, well, because the players are taking a bit of a break or they haven't been able to dedicate a lot of time. But this is the type of match that very clearly shows that Astrea has been putting in the work. Double upgrades, though. Still ticking along for the flying units. The shields research also kicking in now. For, well, all of the Protoss. Astrea trying now to basically just take his 50% of the map. Tactical nuke! It's gonna be sent across this little crevice. Obviously, Astrea has been doing the same thing on the other side of the map. But tactical nukes are brilliant for this exact same goal. There you go. Deny the mining on that base. Over and over and over again. More of them coming up. 2 more Ghost Academies and 2 more nukes researching inside of the main base. Clem is going mass nuke. Mass command center, mass nuke. Cost efficiency is going to be the key word here. Because at this rate, both players are going to be able to mine 50% of the map. And at that point, well, there's a finite amount of money remaining. I do believe it's important that Clem doesn't add on more command centers. Like, there is certainly an upper limit. I think 13 is about that many. I don't really think you need more than 30. Oh god, he starts up more. Sometimes I feel like Terrans get a little carried away with the amount of command centers that they make. Having a bank feels kind of bad, but I don't think, as we have another tactical nuke sent across the map, I don't think it's a bad idea to have a little bit of change. Dang. That ghost, super dead. Like, that's the most dead ghost I've ever seen in my life. Like 6 capital ships of the Protoss were dedicated with shutting it down. And obviously that means that the nuke doesn't land. So if the ghost is sniped while the nuke is channeling, the nuke itself is now, I guess, orbiting Tokamak somewhere. I don't know. Not a good sign, but we do have triple nuke right now on the production tab. Mama ship coming up as well here for Astrea. Okay. Clem is making another attempt over here on this base. Now, Astrea sees this. He still has some really nice vision around the map, actually.
For the glory of Protoss, no mercy to the enemies.
Wait, is that the White Draw announcer? Astrea was always playing with the Diva announcer. I think that's the White...
Nuclear. Need to destroy Terra and expand.
I think that's the White Draw announcer fact. Very cool. Tactical nuke over here, though, is not cancelled. Clem is going to be able to land it. Luckily here for Astrea, he didn't notice, as we have more nukes being sent across the map. I mean, it's an extremely slow way to keep killing those bases and to keep shutting down the static defense, but it is going to chip away at all of those Protoss structures. There's another nuke. We have more and more of them flying across. Clem has decided to play a series for the fans. And you know what? This is an effective one. That's a lot of static defense that will fall. So a nuke is 100 minerals, 100 gas in StarCraft 2. I believe it's slightly more expensive in IRL. Either way, you need to make sure that you get at least some sort of value. So if you use 8 nukes to kill a Nexus, that's obviously not worthwhile. More and more nukes being sent around. We do see a feedback over here, a snipe then as well. The Ghost still going to town though, but that nuke does get cancelled. Gotta be careful, of course. Nukes do deal friendly fire too. He's just rapid firing nukes now. Oh, is this one spotted? Okay, well, it's spotted now because the Liberator kind of spoiled the surprise. What about this one though? Woo, that was close. The circle was already closing. Keep in mind that we see a really nice notification on the minimap as to where the nukes are. That is not what Astrea sees. Astrea will only see a tiny little red dot. And obviously all of his bases right now are spread out, and you can't really easily predict where those nukes are going to land. Okay. The fight will indeed continue. Astrea is still with a lot of money in the bank though, uses some of it now to, well, build up the static defense here in the top left-hand corner. Likewise, Astrea is going up against the Terran, who's done the same thing in the bottom right. What a game. Oh, I love this. This could be big, actually, for Clem. A lot of money dedicated to building up this expansion for Astrea. Several thousand minerals here for sure, and it looks like he's going to be able to shut quite a bit, well, quite a bit of it here down before it really gets going. Another little storm. Another tactical nuke. Those nukes have been wonderful. Really, really powerful here. Great method of zoning this army away. In the meantime, though, there is a giant amount of, well, aggression happening as well in the top left. Looks like Astrea has held on to this expansion for now, and he's gonna try again to get some more of that static defense going. Obviously, you need to have high ground vision in order to use a nuke. So you can't just nuke into an area that you don't have vision of. And if a ghost by itself tries to walk up the ramp, it will get killed by the photon cannons, because the photon cannons are detectors. A lot of mules will be coming up again. And every time there's a little peak over here in the income advantage, it is when all of those mules are mining. Clem only had 58 workers. Astrea actually has also brought his worker count down quite a bit. So this ghost actually did get some nice vision there, probably using a scan or something to provide that high ground. That high ground vision, that is. Astrea adds on even more Stargates right now to try and deal with all of this. So I guess if he loses his army, he's gonna be able to rebuild Skytles immediately. Tactical nukes, though, are landing left, right, and center. Cost effectiveness. Let's look at that for a second. Both players losing a near similar amount of resources in this game so far. And you know what? Both players are also mining their 50% of the map. When you trade pretty much 50-50 and you, well, mine 50% of the map each, how in the world is the game going to get decided? Tactical nukes, though, are actually kind of breaking all of the static defense open. The main problem here for Clem is that it does cost gas to make a tactical nuke, whereas Astrea's, well, all of his static defense only costs minerals. So that could be a slight advantage, I suppose, here for the American Protoss, but it is not easily managed. More nukes flying across. So many of them, actually, have landed. Maybe what we do is we pause the game and we decide it with a rock, paper, scissors. Ooh, some nice storms over here too, though. Gotta be careful, that nuke is gonna land. Get out of there. Oh my god, Ooh, run. Astrea somehow, some way, cutting that as close as he could. We do still see the trail of smoke there. Likewise for Clem, he needs to be careful. Obviously he can cancel the nuke as well, but these fights are all very good for Terran. He can always cancel the nuke if his own army is overextended, but it is important to not forget about it. Oh, what a brilliant game of StarCraft, seriously. Really, really, really cool. I feel like we haven't seen a lot of late Terran versus Protosses lately. It's become more and more rare. Admittedly, it's also because a lot of Terrans have been trying to avoid it. A lot of Terrans hate playing this position. Protoss in the late game looks pretty difficult to beat, but Clem is showing us that maybe mass nuke is the way. This is a sketchy section of the map to mine. But as long as that Protoss army is in the bottom right, I think it'll be fine here for Clem to continue mining this expansion. More tactical nukes this time around on the top left. Ghost activates its cloaking field, and it is gonna get the Knight. Good storm, though. Fight over here still continues as well on the bottom right. Some of the SCVs that Clem still has, they were pulled away from the mineral line for just a bit to, well, finish up their repair duty. How many nukes has it been? I know it says 9 over here, but that's not accurate. There have been more than 9 for sure. Whew. We're just gonna keep killing this base with nukes. You know what? It will die eventually. And good zoning here as well. There we go. That is the money nuke, although immediately the Nexus gets rebuilt. Oh, big storm bear on all of the Vikings. Lots of SCVs did die, but even more probes fell because of this nuke. Whew, I like the way that Clem is controlling this, though. Like, Clem always... He's got this, like, aura of just being in control all the freaking time. This is an exceptionally difficult game to actually manage, because there's so many moving parts. But Clem always seems to just have this very firm hold on pretty much any situation. Sometimes we see him kind of falling apart against like Mass Knight as Mass Overseer plays, I guess. But other than that, I feel like in the late game, he's always so strong. And again, he gets a really nice engagement over here. Does take quite a bit of damage from the storms, but I think there's enough Terran just in general in this section of the map. Astrea is still looking around as well, I'm sure, to find some of those red dots. Reinforcing Protoss units, though, do show up, and he might just be able to push all of this away. Yeah, the Nexus is gonna live for now, it seems. Medevacs are gonna get sniped, though. Reinforcing Terran units also do show up. Suddenly, Clem is finding himself with a very significant supply advantage. Astrea, forced to deplete his bank, warps in 12 additional Zealots. Clem immediately is gonna try and continue putting on the pressure, too, by flying a command center on over in this direction. Maybe a little bit overly ambitious, but certainly something that is going to frustrate the Protoss player greatly. Mothership uses all of its abilities, and yeah, those time warps are nice. Very powerful, of course, to activate the cloaking field and all the rest of it. Another tactical nuke does get sent towards this ramp, and that is almost going to, well, force Astrea out of this position again. I don't think Astrea can really afford to back up, but can he really afford to move forward? Love this from Clem. Builds up a ton of static defense over here, too. Another tactical nuke will be used in this exact same section of the map. Now suddenly, though, the static defense is finishing. One of it, by the way, is a sensor tower. Even though Clem has a lot of detection available, he can scan over and over and over again. He's still gonna put down a sensor tower too, just for good measure. A bunch of mules land in this area. Clem, though, is setting up a bit of an arc here. He's setting up a concave to try and mitigate as much of this damage here of the Protoss player as possible. Cloaking field once more has become available on the mothership, though, and Time Warp probably is not gonna be far behind. It is indeed available. I love the idea of adding some disruptors into the mix. Just make this a more cost-effective Protoss army. More tactical nukes are coming, though. Both players are depleting their banks. Yep, that's it. Most of the bank is empty. Clem mining this base is almost rude. Ay. Well, the command center itself is gonna pay the price. Maybe the mules can long distance mine a little bit. So decisive, right? Mothership is running low, though. The Viking numbers are still looking healthy. It's difficult to see how many there are clumped up together, but the Mothership falls, and it looks like the Tempest aren't going to be too far behind. Clem just absolutely dominates the fight in this section of the map as he grabs the 1-0 lead in the series. Dare I say, game of the year? You know what? On my YouTube channel, I actually do have a... It's literally called Game of the Year playlist, including the... Anyways, it's a playlist with all of the best games of 2025 and actually also previous years. And I gotta say, that first game certainly makes it worthy of the playlist. I haven't put a video in there in a little bit. I usually put like a new video in there like every maybe month. Sometimes every 2 weeks, sometimes every... It's been a little while, though, since I've last put a video into that particular playlist. Highly recommend you go ahead and check it out. Also, by the way, if you are watching this on YouTube, can you please do me a favor and hit the like button? Thank you. I never ask. I'm very bad at asking this, but apparently as a YouTuber, you almost have the obligation to annoy your audience with asking. You can also hit dislike, I guess. Either way, any interaction is good interaction. Although I would prefer a like, but I'm not gonna lie, you know. I'm not saying my ego isn't entirely connected to how well received my videos are. Either way, I think that first game, though, of this series certainly deserved it. I'm impressed with the way that both of them navigated it, but especially Clem. Clem was like, yo, I guess the way I solve this late game conundrum while I'm playing at like 400 or 500 average actions per minute is to, yeah, go into mass nuke and see how the Protoss player can deal with it. Likewise, I really enjoyed Astrea switching into that Mass Tempest style. We don't really see it all too often. In general, Mass Tempest is just not as popular, I suppose. So usually we go for, well, the more gateway-heavy style instead and almost try to, like, Zerg the Terran, right? Where you just mass a ton of Stalkers and Zealots and you send them all around the map. Astrea opting for the more higher tech, well, focused variety there. This time around, though, we're not gonna start off with a Stargate. It is gonna be into a Twilight Council here instead. Okay, so let's see. Where do we go? I think, by the way you properly guilt trip your audience into hitting the like button is saying something like, if this video hits 5,000 likes, I will upload another video. Something like that, you know? I think that's what you need to do, right? So you know what? If we get 3,000 likes on this video, I will upload another video tomorrow. And if I don't, well, I have nothing better to do anyways. Nice little recall right here. I will still upload it anyway. Yeah, no, I will still upload it. All right, anyways, it's gonna be Blink here for Astrea. No surprise there. Clem does have a bunch of... I'll just start deleting videos. It's like, we don't reach 3,000 likes. Slowly but surely, I'll delete my own channel. Tell your mom to go like my video, okay? Grab her phone, log into your... get her YouTube account. Hit the like button. I'm gonna delete last week's videos. No. No, I'm not gonna do that. There's gotta be a YouTuber out there, though, that's actually doing that. It would be really funny. I kinda wanna do it. Anyways, it's gonna be Blink here for Astrea. Hold your own viewer base hostage. What a great idea. It's... How many gateways do we have? We go up to 3. We'll probably see a third Nexus here in a moment. Still though, Clem is gonna try and send out a medevac with a couple of leftover units. Ooh. Hellion goes around. But what about this medevac drop? I think the Hellion is mostly just a distraction. Still, obviously, Astrea saw this coming in from a mile away. Really? Really? Okay. Why do we have to cut it so close? I mean, don't get me wrong, he didn't really lose anything important there. Clem actually still getting some decent value, all things considered. Okay. Bunker coming up. Extra barracks coming up. Yeah, once upon a time, Protoss players used to lose their entire mineral line. And these days, Protosses are like, yo, look at this. And they, yeah, just split at the last possible second. Technically not necessary, but it looks cool. And obviously, you do optimize your mining just a tad. Templar Archives, though, together with a robo facility, as we are once more going into good old Storm. The weather forecast is indeed stormy. Love the fact that he kept that medevac alive. Getting the medevac here and then repairing it back up is huge. Really does help quite a bit. Alright, so we should see the +1 infantry attacks here start up in just a moment. There's the engineering bay. There should be a combat shields starting up inside of this tech lab over here. There's the combat shields, and then of course Stimpack already started. A slightly longer upgrade. And if you now also go into that upgrade immediately, right now, there we go. All of these 3 here on the production tab for Terran will finish up right around the same time. It means, though, that Terran is usually not going to do anything here for a good couple minutes, other than defend. You have such a big power spike in about a minute and a half, you may as well just defend for the time being and try to not take damage. Well, there's a bunker on the low ground, a couple siege tanks on the low ground too. I don't think we're going to be able to achieve too much, but maybe like a storm drop could put in some work. A little bit of, I don't know, drop shenanigans. Always scary. One of these structures is a forge. The rest are all gateways. As we are going to be able to go into... Do we already have... No, we don't yet have charge. Why did we not go charge yet? Do we really not go charge? Oh, we're just going to storm. Everybody dies. There we go. Storm, storm. Oh, you don't have Stimpec. Why are we here, Clem? I love this here for Astrea. Astrea's like, yo, I know the timing of Stimpec. Plus, I know that you always move out slightly before Stimpec is done, so you can hit me in the face right when those upgrades are finished. But I also know that it's pretty much impossible to actually, split your units when you don't have Stimpec, so that was an excellent way to start that fight. Quite a few Marines actually have died so far in this game. Obviously, the Medevacs energy gets hurt. Astrea now sees this all coming in from a mile away. There is a little bit of a shimmer, but Clem is not going to take any bait. Is that a Liberator? It is indeed a Lib. I'm assuming we're going to be sending a probe on down towards the bottom of the map as well. And we'll probably see another base here begin in just a moment. Liberator actually getting a bit of work done, though. Oh, nice Blinky. He saw it on siege. Immediately jumped on it. I feel like the Nexus is late. Astrea, can we go make a Nexus? Why are we not? No, we're building it up here. Dang. Was that all the... It was all the way over there already. Dude, even Clem thought the base was over here, though. But, like, yeah, look at him. I have perfect vision, and I don't even notice it. There's a giant square on the minimap, and I don't even see. Lucky for me, Clem also believed that the base would be at the bottom, because the way that the Protoss army is posturing really looks like it should be over there. Is that Astrea is just about to finish up a fourth Nexus here. All the way at like the 9 o'clock position. A little bit of a strange position for it, but obviously not too out of the ordinary. There's no way. We can't charge in Astrea. Really? Okay, a couple force fields. Zealots actually back up again. If he pushes too deep, he's gonna get destroyed. Ooh, and Clem looks at this like, yo, maybe? No, okay, maybe not. Better not risk it. One thing that I think Astrea does wonderfully is get vision around the map. We have already, there's only 2 observers, but he's got so many spotter units. Look at the minimap right now. This is the vision of Astrea. Astrea can see all of the important attack paths. I guess there's a couple of sections on the map that might allow a medevac to sneak out, but it's not easily done. And Clem can't possibly know where all of the spotter units and all of the observers are. So, yeah, Clem is better off just sitting here behind his little wall. He lost a bunch of his units right before Stimpec finished up to a Psystorm, and now he's paying the price. The price apparently is going to be paid, though, with Widow Mines. He is creating a literal minefield, making it very difficult for those Zealot run-bys in particular to really get some work done. +2 is coming up, though, or it's already started up. I'm assuming we're going to go +2 as well for the infantry armor in just a moment. Storm? Yeah, okay. We're not, ooh, overextension. Yeah, overextension. He wanted to storm the units and then thought, I guess I'll get the feedback down instead. Clem, though, immediately grabbed that opportunity with both hands. And honestly now, with that base, with that warp prism gone, Clem can focus a lot of his attention here on just microing on the other side of the map. He does have a couple of these High Templar set up as well, and the High Templar are putting in work. But the majority of the Protoss army was on the other side of the map. It is now marching back home. Zealots were left behind. A lot of the Widow Mines, actually, if not all of the Widow Mines, also decided to join this particular fight. Still a lot of Zealots available here too, like the 1 Sentry leading the charge. We do have the Stalkers trying to blink after this. Siege Tank's in a pretty decent spot. A lot of damage being done as well, though, on the other side, and that's the tricky part, right? Terran's reinforcements will eventually get rid of it, but it is forcing Clem's multitasking away from this particular engagement. So Astrea, yep, realizes the situation that he's in. He stresses the multitasking of his opponent to the absolute max. 2 more Colossi on the production tab now. We did, by the way, begin the +2 infantry armor. Very nice. In the meantime, Astrea, he's taken the base all the way in the top left-hand corner, and now he goes for that expansion down at the bottom. The one that both me and Clem thought was gonna be the 4th. Trade so far, though, not bad here for either player. I don't think we can really consider this a massive advantage for either of them, but if you compare this to the previous game, everything is just a little bit better for Astrea. Does that mean we once more transition towards Stargates here, eventually? Because, I mean, we're going up to 6 base eco. Yeah, he's taking additional gases now on this base as well. He could certainly think about it. New command center coming up for Clem. Love the factory here. Factory is actually super nice just to... You don't need it anymore at this point in the game so much. So maybe use it to see these incoming Zealot run-bys, or in this particular instance, pretty much the entirety of the Protoss army gets seen. Okay. Gravitic Drive starts up. Gravitic Boosters queued up as well. Those are the Warp Prism and the Observer Speed boosts. Very nice to have additional movement speed, but obviously those are the upgrades you get when you're comfy and when you're settling in for a bit of a longer game. Likewise, Terran is building up even more command centers. So I am expecting Liberators, Tempest, Motherships, and then nukes. At least if the previous game is anything to go off of. Still, the other players are trying to see if maybe they can prevent the game from going that long. If the opponent makes a mistake here, they will be more than happy to grab the opportunity with both hands. Clem trying to set up a massive concave here. Splitting up some of his units, but isn't going to be taking the bait. Astrea, that is. He kind of moves forward a little bit right now. Yeah, he sees that it's not the right engagement. Another starport is coming up. It's going to make life a little bit better for the Terran. And I love that we already have the +2 ticking along. Really nice to see. So there are some ghosts in the mix, only 4 of them. Again, we have a very high amount of High Templar. Love these Colossi, by the way. 5 Colossi. I'm a sucker for Colossi. I like Colossi as a unit a lot. They're such a... I don't know. They're such an iconic unit. Excellent addition, by the way, with StarCraft 2. Like, I feel like when you ask people what their favorite StarCraft units are, a lot of the units will be overlapping with, well, units from StarCraft 1. Units like the Zergling and the Hydra and the Ultra and the Marine, right? Like, all of those are iconic. A lot of the StarCraft 2 units don't really have the same punch, but I really, really like the Colossus. I think the Colossus is a really fun unit. Anyway, +3 finishing up here for Clem, at least for the infantry attacks. He's got a whole lot of units here as well up north. Good amount of static defense, though, and High Templar are set up in loads of little choke points. Man, there's just High Templar everywhere. That, well, single goes there, sliced in half. Beautiful movement here by Astrea, setting up his High Templar in such a way that he can come in from, like, 3 different angles with storms. It's powerful. There's the Stargate again. Obviously, can't go straight into a fusion, or a fleet beacon, rather, in this particular instance. Astrea has got so much money, but a lot of that resource is also counted, I think, towards the amount of CCs that Clem has been putting down. He doesn't have as many as he had in the previous game. This game hasn't been as smooth. Astrea, likewise, also has just been mining more, so he's now sitting at 92 workers. I think in the previous game, at its absolute peak, he had about 10 less. Maybe at least 5 less. So he's mining a little bit more. Clem doesn't have as much economy, but he's still adding on command centers here, and obviously As long as you're maxed, you really don't need a lot more money. Only if you're planning to fight and remake stuff, but at this point, that is not Clem's goal. The amount of static defense, though, being set up over here. As we once more do this tug of war. Second Cybercore. Fleet beacon is done. Tempest production can begin. 6 command centers on the production tab. Alright. Man, this entire series is a beast so far. Ghost Academy number 2. We already had one. Right over here inside of the main. 7 command centers on the production tab. I'm glad I got a little bit of coffee in between game number 1 and 2. Because this is looking like another one of those games that is not gonna be ending anytime soon. What a series, honestly. So this particular series was played during a Wardy Monday. Wardy, he organizes a ton of StarCraft 2 tournaments. And since it's a best of 3, it means that it isn't the finals. I'm not exactly sure when this was played, but probably like a semis or like a quarterfinals, something along those lines. And these guys, and I love it, they're approaching it like it is a series for 100 grand. This is a series for like, I don't know, if it is a semifinals, it is a series for like $25 or a little bit more, I suppose, if you move up to the next round of the event, but what a banger. Beautiful stuff, man. Additional Ghost Academies building. Ay, 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 ay. We have Ghost Academies in 3 different sections of the map now. That does mean that me as a cameraman, I'm not going to be able to cast all of the... I'm not really going to be able to catch all of the nukes flying across the screen. But I did set up my camera location control groups. We'll probably see Tempest here most of the time for Astrea's late game. Carriers generally don't get built anymore until like the absolute latest stage. Now this is a lovely interception. Woo! That is 3 medevacs plus all of the units inside of it, all getting sliced up. Ever since the most recent StarCraft 2 balance patch, as we do get a big EMP, Astrea backs up, the Tempest is a little bit lower in supply, so it's 1 less supply. And that alone is making it like the preferred choice. Here we go. Tactical nuke numero 1. Let's see. I like the music in the background too. This is one of the best songs in the entire game, but it's so chill. There's just a Terran Marine playing the guitar in the background. Don't worry about it. We're gonna be singing Wonderwall together after this. Don't worry, the absolute carnage all over the map. 4 tactical nukes! Yo, I'm loving this. This is sick. Okay, Liberators are coming up. Man, what a banger of a series. Hey, look, it's the 1 unit we didn't make so far. Dark Shrine. I wonder if maybe we should have had one of those in the previous game. This is a better spot, though, for Astrea than he was in the previous match, right? So we are now arriving at, well, nearly 20,000 resources in the bank. Clem has spent a lot of his money on infrastructure, 12 orbital commands, more command centers building. We have high-sec auto-tracking coming up. We've got building armor also on the production tab right over here in that engineering bay up north. Those are all luxury upgrades. High-sec auto-tracking increases the range of missile turrets and planetary fortresses. Fights are happening all over, though. And Astrea, rather than spending his resources on additional Nexi, right, on additional command centers, he's taken most of his side of the map, plus 1 more. And now he's going to spend some of his cash on static defense instead, but he's putting it in all kinds of aggressive positions. I kind of love it. If he can take a base away from the Terran, obviously that would be massive. Man, StarCraft 2 is such a beautiful game. Seriously. The music is great. The graphics are still awesome. It's so legible. Ay, 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 ay. Let's see. Ooh, nice little flank here as we have another tactical nuke flying across the map. Never say die as the ghost dies. Don't know how that works, buddy, but we do see the Terran army getting cleaned up north, and while there will be a nuke landing over here, the ghost is not gonna live to tell the tale, and more static defense coming up. Clem trying to navigate his way around this map. I feel like he is not achieving as much so far in this game compared to the previous one. Love this though. Ghost from the high ground. I like the ghost from the high ground a lot. It's a lot safer. Tempests are now here, ready to deal some damage. Obviously though, like we saw in the previous game, Vikings are extremely good for Terran. The Vikings are extremely nice because they deal with the Tempests, any potential carriers, the mothership. It deals with practically everything. And if push comes to shove, it's not really the same as like Corruptors, for example, which is usually what we see from Zerg players, because overmaking Vikings is a lot less problematic. Nice little hit squad here, man. Look at this. A mothership, an observer, and a High Templar walk into a bar. It's... we just keep going. More static defense again in the middle of the map. Clem, though, is working on the fringes now, right? Like, rather than actually carving a path to his opponent's base, like, these are fights for position in the middle of the map. It's very different than what we had in the previous game. I love this, though. He killed the base down south, builds up a planetary fortress of his own. Still, though, with this amount of Tempests, do we not have tectonic? No, we do, okay. With this amount of Tempests, you can just kill all of those structures in a couple of seconds. Look at this. This is Clem being a little bit bad-mannered. This is him stacking scans on top of one another. Either that or like he accidentally rapid-fired it. I'm not exactly sure. But that, generally speaking, would be considered BM. Anyways, he's got 13 orbitals. He keeps on scanning, though. Yeah, and with this amount of Tempest, you can just kill the structures. You can just destroy the structures. What about this fight? Do we have a Storm nearby? Storm is absolutely critical because the Tempests alone are not going to be able to win it. Mama shows up as well. Cloaking gets activated, but this may just be exactly what Clem was looking for. Then again, though, Astrea is doing a full-on switch here towards ground now. Leftover flying units here and units that are indeed up in the air like the Colossi, they do get destroyed. Somehow, some way, one of the Tempests lives. The rest of the Terran army showing up around the flank. Carrier production queued up right now. 18 gateways. It basically allows Astrea to instantly remax. He still has 20,000 resources in the bank. Like, after that fight, even though Clem's army took a nosedive there and Astrea also had a lot of losses, he just immediately remaxed. Clem doesn't have that luxury. I like carriers a lot in this instance. Now that we are at +2 air, going into +3, the way that these interceptors work is they just deal way more damage. Specifically with +2, like +2 makes interceptors from the carriers really dangerous. At 0, yeah, +0, they don't really deal nearly as much damage. +2 seems to be when carriers once more become, well, worthwhile. Interesting little skirmish over here. Shadow Stride, by the way, coming up as well for our Protoss. 13 Dark Templar are being warped in somewhere. Well, there they are. Na 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 na. Cue the shark music. Ba na 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 na. We don't even need it, man. Yeah, you can repair. Good luck with that. Repair is not gonna save that. And if you're not careful, honestly, these units can destroy your economy really quickly. Like, even though they're flimsy, they still have a lot of DPS. All of the orbital commands need to be repositioned. This is gonna force Clem to, at the very least, respect it enough. He's just gonna send them in. Yeah. It's a bit early to be sending these out before Shadow Strike, if I'm being honest with you. That is a lot of units going down. Still, though, Clem is no longer maxed, and he's sitting at only, well, 170 supply. Astrea trying to just continuously put down static defense. He's not having an easy time at all. Maybe we should not have scanned 69 times in the same location. Maybe we should have used some of that energy on dropping mules instead. Maybe regretting the decision a little bit now, but either way, he still has a mineral line to mine, right? And that is the most important thing. And he still has a lot of orbital commands as well. And now he is going to be able to shut down some of that mining too. Slowly but surely, Clem is going to be able to remax once again. Only 21 workers, by the way. So Clem basically saying, yo, any SCV that I lose, I am not replacing. You need some SCVs for gas mining, but you can effectively switch all the mining over to mules exclusively. That means that you have a lot of supply dedicated to army. And I guess the idea is to go for one giant bulldozer. But much like a Zerg, Astrea can remax this with ease. If you look at his current army value in the top left, sure, that of Clem is bigger. But, I mean, he's got 12,500 minerals, 6,000 gas in the bank. Astrea can make this exact same army twice and still have a lot of zealots to go, right? Like, he will still have a lot of resources left over. Here we go. Astrea taking a page out of the Zerg player's book. Very different army composition, though, but I've got a feeling that it's going to be pretty much impossible for Clem to continue fighting this. Although I say that, he is getting a pretty dang good engagement. Vikings still up in the air as well, and they're going to try and just get rid of whatever they can hit. Cloaking field, though, is active on the mothership, and that means that all the units underneath are invisible until the Terran player scans. At this point, I would imagine he's got energy for it, but he decided to back up, and looking at all the orbitals, I think he ran out of energy. Yeah, he used some of the energy over here on mules up north instead. Clem desperately trying to mine a little bit more. Okay. Man, my coffee's gone cold now. Dang it. Astrea is chilling. Zero rush. But this is, in my opinion, an uphill battle now that is not really winnable anymore. Like, how do you lose this here as Astrea? You would have to try. I mean, I could probably manage if I really tried, but I mean, you still have to respect this army, though. Yeah. On only 10 SCVs, the army supply count is a little bit deceptive. So the little sword icon over here at the bottom of the screen indicates the army supply. So 99 versus 108. Clem's army is still quite strong, but he has no money, right? And Astrea still, well, he can obviously rebuild this army over and over and over again. But this is looking like a game where Astrea can quite literally just use his all army hotkey and go in for one giant push. He does have the mothership positioned aggressively to maybe go in for like a mass recall. I guess that's the plan. Yeah, here we go. We're going to be sending that Protoss army from the bottom of the map all the way up north to the final mining outpost here of Clem. Mama immediately slips away again. Are we going to... I mean, this is overly ambitious, man. Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think we really need to be targeting it down. Astrea, don't fumble it now, dude. Astrea goes for a fancy move, but doesn't really achieve much. And you know what? There is another base here next to the one we just had a look at for Clem. Astrea lost all of his fancy units. I wouldn't mind seeing him queue up some more again. But he might be respecting Clem a little bit too much here now. High Templar goes down. Dude, if Clem can actually bring this back, that would be mental. Well, if anybody can do it, it would be him. Half supply right now, though, for Clem. And just not a lot of income. I mean, this is basically what the entire game has looked like. We're 30 minutes in, again. I think the first game in this series was like, what, 34 minutes? The armies are still similar as far as the supply count goes, but Astrea can just remax this over and over and over again. And obviously, you always have that moment in your head, right? Where you're like, wait a second, am I actually throwing this? Let's not. Like, let's take a step back. This game is practically unlosable. Let's just chill for a little bit, because there's zero reason for me to overextend. Astrea scouts the bottom right here of all of the Terran's bases. He has taken more than his half of the map. He knows that if he takes it easy, there is basically no way to lose it. A little bit of pressure over here. Okay, we have some snipes going down. The Stalkers are gonna have to blink away again. But at this point, Clem basically has to babysit every single one of his units, whereas Astrea can still just throw them away. 16,000 resources in the bank is pretty good. Clem is not going to go down without a fight, though. And obviously, it's easy for us to look at this game, right? And look at the supply count and judge everything that's going on. I'm sure Clem is fully aware of the fact that this game is not so easy for him. But he didn't know, like, he doesn't know how much money there is for Astrea. He didn't know how much mining there was going on throughout this game. It is very much so up to Astrea here to make a move. And it's well within Clem's game rights here to sit here and just chill. But he's got to realize that this game is... Oh my god, he's still trying. Okay. Ay, ay, ay. Okay, that's it, man. No, it's not. Okay, we're going in again. Mothership actually sends in the cloak. I don't think Clem realizes how much money there is for Astrea. And I don't think Astrea realizes how much money there is for Clem. There's a little bit of a misread going on here for the both of them, I think. Obviously a very difficult game to read, right? With all of the aggression going on. Literally 0 APM. Whoa, Clem literally had 0 APM right there for a little bit. That's weird. Yeah, we're doing a little bit of a stretch in the middle of a game, apparently. I don't know. That awkward moment, by the way, when you try to harass with the Dark Templar and you find that there are no workers to kill. Look at this guy, thinking about his sins. There's only 3 SCVs remaining. Look at Astrea. A 33-minute cannon rush? Don't know if this still qualifies as a cannon rush. It's a little bit of a late rush, huh? Yo, is there like some beef between these two? Because I feel like we've seen some interesting plays between the two of them. I'm not sure. Kind of feels like it, right? Like, why is Clem still here? We saw the stacked up scans earlier. We had some interesting moments as well in the previous game. Astrea could literally just A-move and end the game, but he is also really rubbing it in. Almost feels like one of them is AFK. Clem is not, though. We still have a little bit of APM here going in. Did Clem actually leave? Like, what is Clem doing? Let's go to his vision. Oh! This is Clem's vision. Oh! Clem actually left. Oh! Clem actually got up and left. There's no way, dude. So we've had a few instances over the last year where Clem was like visibly upset. Specifically against rogues late game with like the Mass Overseer, Mass Nidus style. We have seen this a bunch of times. He does call GG, but he clearly was not happy with the way that this game ended. Well, whatever happened at the end of that previous game, it now means that this series comes down to the map Ultra Love. Final game in this best of 3. And this has been a very long best of 3 so far. I mean, it takes 2 to play a game like that, right? Obviously, Astrea slows down the game a bunch, but hey, that's well within his rights. I have seen loads of games over the last few years, also from the man that we're looking at right here, where the Terran purposefully slows down the game. And anything is fair within StarCraft, right? Like, as long as you're not breaking the game's rules, as long as you're not abusing some sort of bug or glitch or whatever, anything is fair. If you feel like you need to lift off your command center and hang it in the corner of the map, you can do whatever you like, right? Like, that's not anything against the rules. Obviously, there is, I guess, a little bit of, like, sportsmanship. It's probably the correct term to use there. Generally, we don't see the games running for that long, but... well, I feel like Clem, over the last year or two, has become a lot more of an emotional player, or at the very least, he's showing it more. Maybe back in the day, he just didn't really... maybe he just didn't really share it, but... I like it, though. You know, like... you could make the argument, and I've seen people do this, that, like, the StarCraft 2 players get along too well. Like, we don't really have any, like... you know, esports bad boy anymore, right? Like, we used to have, like, Idra, Naniwa, right? Like, we've had a bunch of them in StarCraft 2 over the years that some people absolutely adore, right? And then a lot of people absolutely hate. Very few in between. And I kinda miss that. I'm not saying we need more BM players, but a little bit of controversy can also help us sometimes. And I think it's kind of nice to see, but I didn't expect... Clem would be the one, though, that would maybe be in that category. And I honestly highly doubt it, right? Like, you're allowed to be a little bit upset. You're allowed to have emotions. And pro gamers are human, after all. Yeah. All right, anyways, Ultra Love it is. If you don't want to play a long game, Clem, if that was indeed the issue, I don't know if it was, maybe try and go for something that ends the game sooner? I understand that is a frustrating late game, though, to play against here as a Terran. But I have seen Terrans play that exact same I am not gonna do anything until you attack me type of late game against Zerg hundreds of times. It's a little odd to be upset on the one hand when your opponent does it, but then do it yourself as well at the same time. I don't know. I would like to ask Clem why that game just happened. Maybe he just got up and, I don't know. Maybe he had to go to the bathroom, you know? He just left for a little bit. Anyways, it's gonna be a good old 2-base 1-1-1 right here for Clem. Nothing all too odd. So far, Astrea once more opting to go into the Blink research. No surprise there. I'm assuming we're gonna go into probably like 3 gateways and then into a 3rd nexus. The Reaper goes around the site. Wants to get some vision here, and he is going to be able to see the Twilight at the very least. So that means we're not going to be playing against a cheeky little opener with, well, for example, Phoenixes, like what we saw in the first game. If you want to play a long game, if you want to play a very passive game as Protoss, I really think opening Phoenixes just feels like the games always are forced to go a little bit longer. Assuming, you know, Protoss actually plays everything well. I feel like if you show that you're frustrated, though, from those type of games, your opponents are gonna abuse that knowledge. Like, in a heartbeat. They will be more than happy to play a long... like, if they can get under your skin that way, your opponents are gonna 100% abuse that. Anyway, Clem decides to go in for a cheeky little medevac drop. Recall is used now to bring some of the units back home. Okay, good snipe there on the first Widowmine. Second Widowmine thinks about going into the natural. Oh, nice. Drone drill, although he didn't quite get it down. Okay, 4 probes there in the end. Not the end of the world. A little bit late. It's going to be a Raven on the back of this as well. 6 probes is much better than what we've seen before. 6 probes for 2 Widowmines there. Keeping that medevac alive is super nice. I feel like if we see the medevac skipping out like that and it just sort of leaves after the drop is really, really good. If you lose it, the entire game and all the follow-ups just become a little bit more difficult. Okay, so Stimpack, combat shields, plus 1 infantry weapons. The holy trinity of Terran upgrades. Do we go for a cheeky little blink into the main? No, I don't think so. I don't think we should. A little risky. Auto turret drops down. And maybe some fatigue is starting to settle in here. Astrea taking more damage than he honestly should. Nothing of this is insurmountable, but 8 probes is still quite painful. Raven is going to be able to slip away, and here we go. Medevac drop also moves out. Astrea not having that extreme amount of vision out on the map is what we saw in the previous games at this stage. He's thinking about building a Nexus over here in the far bottom right, but he doesn't have any spotter units out. Raven actually gets quite a bit of damage done. I'm not liking this nearly as much from Astrea as what we've had in the previous games. His early game looked really clean, and while this is by no means bad, it's all a little bit messy around the edges. 12 probes is too much. Clem is a very momentum-based player. He will be more than happy to layer on the pressure. Medevacs going across the map. Good interception here for the American Protoss. Wants to get both of the Medevacs. Nice micro there by Clem, though. At least saves one of them. Charge is done, so that's going to make everything a bit easier. Fourth Nexus is now going to restart over here. A little bit closer to home. Observer in position, by the way, to see the move out. Clem has got all of his upgrades. Notice how this time around he does not move before the upgrades are done. In the previous game, he got stormed right before Stimpak, Combat Shields, and +1 finished. It slowed down the entire game because of it. Okay. Let's see. Where do we go from here? Marine's still hanging out in the bottom right. Okay, Zealot's trying to get a bit of damage done. Probes over here, though, on the transfer. We do have some decently positioned Widow Mines, and it's all slowing this down, and the third base is just in a world of trouble. Excellent zoning here by Clem. I think Clem decided to lock in. Yeah. And this is something that Clem does, man. Like, you give him a little bit in the early game, and he immediately pounces. Super momentum driven. More than happy to layer it all up. And at this point, I mean, 28 workers were down 8 minutes into the game. Still a playable state, of course, here for Astrea, but the game will become more difficult as the game progresses. And apparently Astrea, he looks at the current state of the game and he decides that this is not something he wants to go ahead and play. Can't blame him. I've seen a lot of games from this exact same position where Clem just absolutely decimates his opponent. It takes another couple minutes, but Clem just doesn't really let go at that particular moment. But what a series. Very, very fun. And I think in this final one, we could also see the fatigue settling in, right? Like the fact that you play like 35-ish minute long games back to back. It just, it takes a lot out of you, especially since obviously this is one of the later rounds in the tournament. You've already played a bunch of StarCraft before this point. It's one of those games where you have to keep locked in, right? You have to make sure you keep on focused. And I think that's one of the reasons actually why a lot of players like Clem are very good at playing offline tournaments these days too, because he puts in the hours. Like, this is a marathon series. He will be jumping into another series after this particular one, and he's been doing that sort of thing for years, playing in everything. And it shows in his offline tournament results. Now, today I want to give a special shout out to all of the supporters here on my, what is this, left? I mean, technically, anyways. It's always a little bit confusing when you're on camera, but thank you especially to Ryan, Tren, Rextor, Grimdy, Jacob, Krenlor, Agaring. We have Dustin, Strategist, Blue Hair Critic, Ballistical, Killman, Beinstork, Papuch, Thort, Sysadmin, Andy, and then Echo Soldier, Gavilana Cool, CRX, Robert, Patrick, Dumont, Brusik, Champ, Naroob, Jovo, Lucas Waffles, and then also Platinum Esports. The list is slowly growing. Now, if you want your name over here on the list too, you can head on over to my Patreon. Obviously entirely optional, but there are some perks as well. Shout out to everybody watching though, and special thanks to all of the patrons. Appreciate you.